It's really uncanny how often the devil, the tower, or the death card showed up in these readings. And you received the death card, but other signs received quite a bit more than that. And there was one other prominent feature in these readings, and that was a really negative card paired with a really positive card. And in a weird way, it counterbalanced each other. It was like the acceptance of defeat and victory at the same time. Now on July 25th, Mercury goes into Virgo, and I had mentioned in the introduction to say no at least once a day. And I think it's time that Virgo starts to say no once a day to people in their lives. Because I don't think they've been making you happy or appreciating you for all of the things that you've sacrificed. Now let's go into your reading and see what's going on in life. Now the cards on the left for your past, you receive the Nine of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles. Now here's a great example of a really positive card paired with a really negative card. The Nine of Pentacles is about success and the material rewards that come with it. And it brings a satisfaction. You've accumulated abundance. But not only that, you've accumulated comfort, security, stability, and self-reliance. You've had patience to work hard and sacrificed a lot of things to come to this point of freedom. You're moving towards a state of well-being, comfort, and freedom of new and interesting choices. But the number 9 indicates that it's a card of completion, or you're moving towards a completion. Now conversely, the Five of Pentacles is what I call the card of impoverishment, deprivation, disparagement. And maybe you did have some loss of wealth, but normally it's emotional impoverishment. People are not appreciating what you've done for them and the sacrifices you've gone through so they can have comfort. And now there's some loneliness involved in this. You might have all the money in the world, and it certainly doesn't bring happiness. Whatever hardships you've gone through has brought some negative emotions to the surface, and maybe even troubled business or troubled love relationships, or just troubled relationships. In this instance, I feel like it's some type of routine that you can't get out of. You got caught into a web of something, and now you're unhappy. Now it's time for you to find some happiness and make some peace in your inner self, because you personally feel depleted and drained. Now the cards on your right is the base of your spine for what I call sourcing and urgings. And this can be experiences from past lives through your childhood to the present. And it's how you think about it in your unconscious self. And you receive the Ace of Wands and the Hanged Man. Well, the Ace of Wands is nice to get. It's a guiding light that marks the beginning of new fruitful endeavors. You have to remember that an ace is only a promise. This is heaven giving the earthly plane a message of good fortune. It is time to undertake new ventures. The Suit of Wands is about action and doing, and it is time for you to take some action. I've seen you sit along the sidelines for a really long time. And you're doing that now, too, because you received the Hanged Man. And he's a timeout card. It appears that you've tired of being emotionally drained. You know, you can't live with these emotional vampires the rest of your life. You're going to have to break free, and the Hanged Man is having you go into a spiritual journey. You know, a soul searching, something that has to be done quite often in a person's life, and it's probably the most painful thing a person can do. But here you're seeking spiritual enlightenment. Illumination is the word for it in Latin, which actually means spiritual enlightenment. You're seeking a rebirth. This is a time of great reflection for you to see where you're at right now and where you're going. You know where you've been in the past, and you know you're not happy with it. Now this might sound funny, but maybe you were fighting things to keep the status quo. And it really is time for things to change. You know, this card says to stop trying to control the outside world like putting a round peg in a square hole. But for you, it means that you've allowed other people to take control of your life. And now you want a spiritual revival to see things in a different light. And it's time for you to relinquish the old because the new is avidly seeking its place. Now the cards up above for your pelvic and sacrum for awakening and growth of all kinds, and even your sexual prowess. You receive the Emperor and the Wheel of Fortune. Now the Emperor is a man that takes control of his empire. He is the epitome of structure, organization, responsibility. And he sets boundaries. And this is one thing I don't think you've done, is set boundaries in your life, rules and regulations to limit people. This can also represent maybe an elder or a person or a man that you go to for advice. But now it's time to use logic and reason behind any of your decision making. The Ace of Wands under the Emperor is also saying, take a grip of the wand and take control of your life path. Now the Wheel of Fortune, that's a clarification card for the Emperor, is saying that the evil that's been in your life can be transmuted to good fortune. A lot of time, life is right place, right time. And this is saying this is really an auspicious time to take control of your life and make some really positive moves for it. You have to start taking care of yourself and not having other people involved in your decision making. I mean, one size doesn't fit all, and you're not going to find any decision where it's going to be a completely win-win-win situation. Even though the wheel is there and saying this is a fortunate and lucky time, a lot of times we make our own luck. You just can't wait for something to fall into your lap. You have to act. And that's what the Ace of Wands again is saying. It's time for you to be doing some things, changing some things, and bringing some new things into your life. Now the cards up above for your solar plexus, for your feeling and sensing, you receive the Death card and the Two of Cups. The Death card is about transformation. It's about necessary change. If you didn't make the right decisions, or if you didn't even make any decisions, the cosmos is going to make it for you, and it did. It's pulling you into a transformation. This is destiny and fate. It was preordained for this to happen because it was time for it to happen. And it's time for you to throw out things that are no longer serving you or have any advantage in your life. The Death card beckons for closure. Change is not your enemy, and you may be the enemy to change, but if you resist change and put claw marks on the door of change, there's going to be loss. Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. Now the clarification card is the Two of Cups, the minor arcana version of the Lover's card. You want stronger bonds in your relationships and deeper emotional feelings with the people in your life. You're the kind of person that loves to be loved. And I think there's been a problem here lately with your relationships, especially with you receiving the Five of Pentacles in the past. It's been a rocky road for you. You haven't been completely satisfied with the people in your life. And now the cards in the center for the heart of the matter, you receive the Five of Pentacles and the Nine of Wands. Now you receive the Five of Pentacles again, so you're dragging all of the disparage and impoverishment from the past into the present. You have to be really careful because you could bring this into the future. And strangely enough, you have two Five of Pentacles cards, and then you have two Nine cards. You have the Nine of Pentacles in the past, and the Nine of Wands in the present, in the heart of the matter at that. So essentially your past is still your present. Now the Five of Pentacles is a hardship card, and the Nine of Wands is giving you the stamina to overcome hardships. You've been drained of strength and wounded. Now this is like a last line of defense before you reach the finish line of your goals, and it's for you to muster some strength in the face of opposition and meet any of your adversaries head on. Nine is the card of completion, or working towards the completion. You're coming to an end of a siege. The road has been rough, and there might be still a few battles, but you're coming to a completion point. Now the cards on the bottom right for your throat, for communicating and teaching, you receive the Fool and the Four of Cups. The Fool is telling you it's time to go on a new quest for the discoveries of the mystery of life, the mystery of your life, why you haven't wanted to change. Virgos are so detail oriented that, you'd say to me, no, I want to go back and check this one more thing. And really, it is time to take a leap of faith and just go forward, because the Four of Cups is saying you're not very happy. Whatever you thought was a treat in the past is no longer considered a treat in the present. Life feels lackluster and there's no pizzazz left in it. Variety is the spice of life, and maybe you had too much variety. But I have a feeling that a lot of people have taken you for granted. And now it's time to open your eyes to the opportunities that surround you. You don't want to sit in apathy anymore and be drained emotionally, that the Five of Pentacles has been doing. It's time for you to go on your personal self-discovery quest with the Fool. Now the cards up above for your third eye for seeing and enlightening. You see the High Priestess and the Queen of Wands. I feel like the High Priestess is now some kind of cosmic karma for you. She's going to be bringing some messages to you from the cosmos down to earth. And you have to start being vigilant to listen to her subtle messages. They're so subtle that you have to be able to recognize them and be able to interpret them, because she wants you to use your intuition and really heighten your awareness of your dreams, premonitions, and coincidences that you thought, oh, well, it happened. In reality, it was a chain reaction of events that happened that you didn't realize they were connected. You did not connect the dots. Now, the Queen of Wands is there to bring understanding. She wants you to review your life, what's happened in the past, where you are in the present, and where you want to go in the future, and connect it to consequences. I think you're a little ticked off about things, and really, you have to mellow yourself out about being ticked off, but be ticked off enough to want to change. And now the cards up above for your crown, for your knowing and understanding. You receive the Two of Cups again and the Four of Pentacles. Now we discussed the Two of Cups, and this is about making a decision, making decisions. But you received the Four of Pentacles, I don't know how many times in the past, at least 5 or 6 that I can remember. And this is called the Miser card, but I don't think you're an uncharitable person. What you've been doing is hanging on to things that no longer serve you anymore. And all of the cards on the top there, you've got the Two of Cups twice, the Death card, and the Four of Pentacles. The Death card, too, is saying you have to get rid of things that are not advantageous to your life anymore. And this has been the whole theme for the last couple months for you, is it's time for you to throw some old, emotional, dead baggage out the door. It's time for you to no longer be subservient to other people, emotionally and physically. But you're still having a hard time dealing with this, because the future cards are the Knight of Swords, the Five of Cups, and the Ace of Cups. Now the Knight of Swords is a very aggressive energy. But if you hit with the Five of Cups, that's about depression and despondency. You have a passive-aggressive nature going on here. You've allowed a lot of other people to buffalo you, and that's where the aggressive Knight of Swords is. And a lot of it is verbal manipulation. They're saying, come on, why are you saying that? They want everything to be status quo because it's to their advantage. But then if you're personifying this Knight of Swords, then you're an embattled knight that's tired. You're back with the Nine of Wands. You're in a respite waiting to go back into battle. And you're tired of the fight. You just want it to change. Now, if you really look at it, you have the Five of Pentacles in the past, the Five of Pentacles in the heart of the matter in the center, and you have the Five of Cups in the future. Now, in the past and your present, you looked at things like the cup is half full. But normally in these cards, there's 2 upright cups, and they signify change and hope. And there, the Ace of Cups is a blessing and a promise for new emotional affairs and relationships. It's given you a lease on life for love, unconditional love from the people that are in your life. You've given unconditional love to them. Now it's time for them to give it to you. Now the Death card is saying you're in the death throes to forge new beginnings. And it's time to Muster up the courage to make decisions and have the valor to execute them. You might have lost many of the small battles in your life, but now it's time to win the war of change. Other people have held on tightly to their well-being at the expense of your well-being. Now it's time for you to search for peace. Okay, and I pulled a Doreen Virtue Messages of the Angel card, and you received Carissa. A lot of other people received that too this month for some reason. It's not surprising that we, as collective citizens, are going through a lot of the same things in life, but just in different and unique ways. Now, Carissa says, you are at the end of a cycle in your life. Call upon your angels to comfort you and to guide you to your next step. Happiness awaits you now. How great! You are going into new cycles. You received 2 nines, which is going to completion cards. You're in a transformation with death. And you really have to heed the warning of the 4 of Pentacles. No longer hang on to things that are no longer serving you. And I wish you acceptance, peace, and happiness.